Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 3. So in Module 3, we are continuing with fiction. So in the previous module, you got a little introduction to fiction, you got to read some short stories. Now we are getting into the chapters that are going to cover specific elements of fiction. So, characters, setting, things like that. Most of the terms, just in general, you'll probably recognize. Some of the more specific information will probably be new. We're going to do a couple of things with this, just like we've done before, and you'll notice a lot of the modules are set up the same way. You have a quiz, and then you have a writing assignment of some kind. So I'll go over what we're doing here. The three main topics we're covering are plot, character, and setting. So if you're in the textbook, then when you go to the table of contents, you'll be looking, we've already done this short fiction sampler. Now we have plot, character, and setting. Now these chapters aren't terribly long. They're going to be a couple of pages, which is just information about plot, different types of plot, what's included in plot, etc. Characters are like a little bit more complex because we've got flat and round characters, dynamic and static characters, etc. And then after that are some examples that are just included in the chapter, and they include examples that are good examples of that particular topic. So if it's about characters, and we know that there's some going to be different types of characters that are identifiable in these particular stories. So when you go to do the readings, you'll see it's set up as you've got the chapter reading and then the stories that I want you to read out of that chapter. So you're not reading everything, but I do want you to read a couple. So you'll have 4 stories here total that you'll read just for the quiz. And so that'll just give you a little taste of and I try to pick the short stories that most students have probably been assigned before, because that way you can just kind of skim through it and give it yourself a little refresher. Maybe you'll read it a little bit differently the second time through. Maybe you'll read it a little bit differently because it's in the chapter about that topic. So some of this may be stuff that you reviewed in, say, a high school literature class. So that's kind of nice. And some of it will be by authors that you may have already encountered. Like John Updike has quite a few novels out there, but a lot of students haven't necessarily read A and P. So that's just the readings for the quiz. So once you've done those, you've taken the quiz, now you're ready to start in on our writing assignment for the unit. And the writing assignment here is really looking at cultural identity, racism, and how that affects literature. And so I've got some stuff in here for you. I've got some really good videos. This is a sociology crash course video, and then this is an author just discussing cultural identity in general and kind of how that's reflected in society and reflected in writing. There's a really great article here that can show you some great examples of how authors have done it. But basically what we're looking at is, so one of the major outcomes for the class is to explore the use of things like cultural identity, social norms, race, nationality, ethnic background, that kind of thing on literature. And so we have this specific assignment to help assess that outcome. And your task will be to, you're basically creating a journal. And by a journal, I mean you're going to start a Word document and you're going to choose 4 short stories from this list. For each story, you're going to provide me with a short, well, not short, but 250 word paragraph. So it's going to be, 2/3 of a page long, discussing the author's use of identity, culture, racism, or sexism, or anything remotely related to that you can kind of think of. We're looking at big themes here, but also the way that the author shows them or deals with them. So like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't think of, Young Goodman Brown. That's a good one. Nathaniel Hawthorne's short story, Young Goodman Brown. This is a story where all of the characters are symbolic. So you've got a character that represents evil. You got a character that represents good. And so they're really like basic characters. They're not really, there's not a whole lot of background to them. So they're supposed to be symbolic, but they're showing this, the use of identity and culture through this sort of symbolic relationship. You have to read it. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff that you can look at with these examples. You only have to choose 4 to write about, and it's really all your own opinion. There's not, the only way you're really going to lose points on this is if you generate your response using AI, or if you just aren't actually writing about, if you're just like telling me what the story's about. You want to, otherwise it's just your own opinion, and you really can't be wrong that way. So it's important to be thinking about, like, what do you think of? What do you think the cultural identity is that they're discussing? What do you think, how do you think the author has been affected by either their race or the race of the characters within the story? How do you think, you know, the discussion of misogyny, gender roles, sexism, that kind of thing, all of this could be discussed within your paragraphs. So sometimes students try to make this harder than it is, but really all you're doing is demonstrating your awareness of the complexity and diversity of human experience. So I want to see, like, what do you notice about either how they wrote the story itself or the background of the author, and what might have influenced them as they wrote the story. So it's really your chance to just do a little bit of exploring there. This is one that you can write in a free flow manner. I'm not looking for grammar. I don't care, as long as I can, like, kind of understand what you're trying to say, that's fine. It's not something that's, it's not like an essay. I want it to be your authentic writing, your authentic ideas. Although you can, if you want, use you know, some type of program to help you find the misspellings or something. That's totally fine. But otherwise, really, I'm just grading it on whether or not you did it and you followed the assignment. So just keep that in mind. If you have questions, or if you're not sure as you write the entries, like if you're doing it right, you're more than welcome to send me an email. Again, this is not an assignment that's a really heavily graded on your ability to write. It's more on your thoughts. So I'm really just interested in what you think. So if you have questions, send me an email. Otherwise, have a great week.